What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another video, back with a special guest. Welcome to my office, man. Hey Joey, how you doing?
What is up, my man?
Hey, so we're in the Lions Den, we're in Philadelphia. You were so gracious enough to treat me to my first Philly cheesesteak, whiz wit.
Yes.
And it was fantastic.
You liked it?
Yeah, that's all I want to say in the video, actually.
And that's it.
Is there anything you want to say?
We didn't go to Gino's or Pat's, and it was still a good cheesesteak, so yeah, suck it, y'all.
I mean, we are talking about food because today I think you've had an excellent transformation. And for those unaware, they should check out your channel. I'm going to link that in the description. Joey Zatsmary, Zat Strength. You put out excellent content, kind of strongman focus, powerlifting. Why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit to be serious for a second? And then I want to talk about that transformation, real applicable advice for strength athletes or individuals in general that might not identify as a bodybuilder that want to make an appreciable transformation, because I think you've done that. And after being here at the barbecue and seeing so many of your athletes both either have had significant weight loss occur or build muscle, I think you're quite knowledgeable on that. I think it'd be a good topic
For sure.
Yeah.
So what's up, guys? I'm Coach Joe, Joe Zatmary, and I've competed in a lot of different things. So CrossFit, Olympic weightlifting, and most recently strongman. So I just took the national title for USS Strongman in the heavyweight. So that's the overall heavyweight champion, which is pretty cool. And I would say what makes me unique is just that. Like, I am a kind of a jack of all trades. And I own the gym called the Lions Den. So that's where we're currently residing, is in my gym, where we do pretty much just general strength and conditioning. Like Omar said, we have a lot of everyday people who end up actually getting involved with strength sports, which is really cool. But I really enjoy just trying to spread my journey, honestly. Like, that's really what it is. Just a journey, and hopefully some of you guys can take some tips and tricks maybe from the videos you watch and the video we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and I think one of the best things I noticed about your transformations often were when someone will do a skinny to swole transformation, they have that awkward phase. It's kind of like growing out your hair, or you just have that awkward phase and it sucks. And that awkward phase is usually when someone overshoots their calories and they go from being skinny or skinny fat, whatever, however they want to label themselves, and then they inevitably become just fat. Like it happened to me my first year of lifting, where I was on the seafood diet, massive eating. I was gaining 10 pounds a month.
Wow.
And so I gained 80 pounds in 8 months, just way too much. I think you've built an appreciable amount of mass, muscle over time, and your overall approach, even though it's kind of a platitude, this word, is holistic, and kind of how you approach things. But can you just talk us through a little bit your personal transformation, and then maybe some key takeaways, and then after we're going to get on to how you approach a transformation for strength athletes or for people that you coach?
Yeah, for sure. So kind of like he had said, I know a lot of people have done things like you adding a ton of weight in a short period of time, but I can honestly say, like, I never went through like a dirty bulk point in my life or just trying to consume as many calories as possible. So for me, it was mostly just doing sustainable, being in a surplus, but just a little bit. So we're probably talking somewhere relatively in the 500 to probably 750 calories. And just gradually over time, still training through that, being in that surplus, having proper training principles with different blocks. Because I did actually go through a point in my life where I was actually competing in bodybuilding, just like a one-time deal. But that taught me kind of just the basics of volume, hypertrophy, bodybuilding. And that kind of evolved with strength training. So from bodybuilding, it kind of went to strength training, which is kind of weird how blocks sometimes work that way. So it's kind of intuitively just picking this up, how my body was going, tracking my weight. So one of the biggest things was just kind of tracking what I was eating, tracking my weight on a pretty consistent basis, and making any little adjustments that we had to do here and there to get the desired result without adding 20 pounds on, 15 pounds on, and losing, the performance for whatever my goal was at that time.
Can you give us some concrete numbers then, what you're 26 now, what weight you started at, and then what you ended up with, and what that transformation looked like? Like, was it 10 pounds a year, and starting numbers, ending numbers?
Yeah, so I would say in middle school, I wrestled heavyweight. So I was always on taller end. So I'm 6'2", and at that point in my life, I was probably around 185 in middle school. And in high school, when I started playing high school football, I was kind of fluctuating between 205 to 220. And the reason I say that is because I played two sports. I played lacrosse and football. During the football season, I was on the heavier end. And then from all the running from lacrosse, my calories were just being burnt a lot from all the extra running we were doing, and probably, just wasn't eating as much for whatever reason, so it would come down. So I just have that basic fluctuation. Right now, I actually sit at around 240 to 245 pounds. And typically, if I compete, I like to compete around 235 pounds. So, I do have myself in a little bit of a surplus. When it comes to competition, I cut back a little bit so I can still remain athletic. And that's where I feel most comfortable when I compete in terms of just performance, and strength. But that's kind of how the weight over time has gone. So it's been very steady, and it's just been incremental jumps, over that span. So you can do the math, break it down to whatever that comes down per year. But it's been steady. There wasn't a huge time where I gained a ton of weight and then had to lose an excessive amount of weight, or I did go through like a really crazy awkward, like you said, skinny fat, or I just got obese or overweight. It's always just been nice and steady. And that's just been due, I would say, to knowing the things that we've been talking about. Also being active, playing sports. My big thing is always to keep my athleticism.
Right.
So whatever I do, that's always on my priority list, and I never want to get too big to the point where I feel like it's affecting my athleticism to a certain degree.
Lethargic.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm thinking about long term. I'm thinking about being healthy.
Yeah, and one of the things that you said that I thought was very interesting was essentially that you try and keep active, or you try and stay athletic. And what they have found, actually, there's an episode of Iron Culture we did with James Krieger where they're talking about how activity scales with their calories. So sedentary individuals are terrible at assessing how many calories they need. So if they need to eat 2,000 calories, they might eat 3,000, they might eat 1,500. They really don't know, but they tend to overeat. Mm-hmm. But as you continue to increase activities, let's say you increase your daily expenditure by 500 calories, it's not like you want 500 calories more. In fact, often your activity will eclipse how many more calories you're craving. Mm-hmm. So over time, it matches, your expenditure tends to match your intake, which makes it easier just to stay leaner for a longer period of time, or just consistently. Mm-hmm. A question then I would have for you, what would be your biggest and best tips for those quote unquote hard gainers or individuals that once again will identify themselves as being skinny, where it's like, oh man, I can't, like, the type, like, I want to build muscle, I've been training for 5 years or 6 years and I've only gained 10 pounds or 20 pounds. Like, what are some of your best pieces of advice? Let's start first for hard gainers.
For hard gainers, honestly, I think it just comes down to, I'm sure we've talked about this, or he's talked about this before, is just figuring out the calories that get you to the goal where you need to be. And honestly, if you're saying, well, I eat a lot and I'm not getting there, you're still not eating enough. So you have to figure out where that number is for you. And I'm not going to sit here and spew numbers because everybody's going to be different, but you have to have some sort of system in play to track these things. And I think one of the biggest things that people don't do is have goals they don't track. Yeah. And we see that a lot, like even with myself or the athletes that I've dealt with here, when they come in, they're so vague with what they want to do, or when you ask them questions, they don't really have the answer. So you should be able to answer the specific things of, what are my goals? What am I trying to get to? And how am I going to get there? So if you're tracking your calories and you've been doing this for a week, eating the same baseline amount of calories, and the weight's not changing, we have to increase those calories. So get to the point where you are seeing a slight change in the scale, and try to just keep it a nice, steady, progressive increase. I wouldn't go for the crazy dirty bulk, and I think a lot of people who I've talked to, maybe you've talked to, I think they've only done that like once in their lifting career, and they're like, man, I don't know if I'm ever gonna do that again. Yeah. And then they kind of try to have a better approach to it. So that's always been my mentality, is long haul. Think long haul, and for the hard gainers, figure out your baseline and then just add a little bit more until you finally are getting to that desired amount of increase in your weight.
Awesome. And final question then would be, I don't know if you want me to say this publicly, but your brother has had a great transformation where he lost, what, over 100 pounds?
Yeah, he's over 100 pounds now.
Yeah. Yep. So for individuals, let's start with the opposite story then, which I would say is a little bit more common for the average person, that maybe, either they started lifting and they gained too much weight, so they got fat, or they started heavier and now they've leaned down. So let's assume they've lost a good amount of fat, but now they want to build some muscle, so they're not that perennial, oh, I'm a hard gainer. It's someone that's maybe struggled a little bit with their weight throughout their life, or when they try and put on muscle. How would your advice change for those people that struggle with their weight, but they still want to build a good amount of muscle mass, either training tips or nutrition?
So basically, like I said, my brother had lost, he was 300 some pounds. He lost over 100 pounds down to 200 pounds. Now his main thing is, I've lost all this weight, and he was actually in a deficit for I think about a year, which to me is just way too long. But we've been figuring out his macros like I talked about. So figuring out your protein, carb, and fat intake, which just equals calories, and getting that in and monitoring the scale. And on top of that, putting him on a good strength and conditioning program. Figure out your goals, figure out where you are and how to get there, and think about what's the best approach for the long term that's going to be sustainable.
Well, when you said, because people have said like, oh, Joe, like, you got a good amount of muscle, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you've been lifting 13 years. When a lot of people will ask me questions, then ask their training age, it's 2 years, 3 years. It's like, you're just getting started, on your journey. So I think you gave a lot of actionable, real advice that came from a place of experience, both yourself and coaching other people. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
Omar is way more gorgeous in person than this camera does him justice.
It's the makeup.
Yeah, no. To be honest with you guys, like, I'm a very simple and real kind of person, and I think too many people want to do too many things, and I'm guilty of that. But at the same time, what's gotten me to where I am today is really picking concrete goals and sticking to them and doing it the entire way through, not starting something, seeing something else, and then trying to chase that. Because say you do make a little bit of progress, but then you stop and you go to do something else, it turns into this weird mindset where you're just constantly unhappy and you're not putting enough effort towards that one thing. So try to figure out what it is, that one thing that you want to do, or it's your top priority on your list, and started to attack and get after that. But one of the main things that I was doing was wasting so much time on unnecessary BS. So if you want to get good at deadlift, you should be deadlifting more. If you want to get good at squatting, squat more. Just keeping it very basic and simple, and trying to cut out a lot of the other crap that you're doing that's keeping you away from that goal. And you're going to see that that will improve.
Excelling at the essentials. It reminds me playing music, where a lot of people will try and get better. And they're like, well, how do I get better at this? It's practice. It's like, but yeah, I know, but I want to play. Well, you got to practice. It's like, but isn't there like a way that this sweep picking technique is like, you need to practice. It's like, it's very simple. Yep. If you want to become better, you got to put in the time. I would say, in closing, everyone watching this, if you made it to the end of the video, make sure to check out Joey's channel. I've thoroughly enjoyed the hospitality.
Yeah, bro.
The training has been good. You outlifted all of us on that car tire deadlift.
Whatever that
thing.
Was. Yeah.
It's 3,000 pounds.
You look cool.
Yeah, Alan had the 1,000 pound tire. You had the 3,000 pound car lift.
So therefore, I'm better.
3 times better if we're doing the numbers.
Better, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and make sure to check out his channel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the damn video. And I'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next one. Peace. Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.